safe streets, vibrant neighborhoods, successful business and commerce. These are things that make a healthy community. We are a diverse community, rural, suburban, urban, a multitude of languages and ethnicities, ages and experiences. We are a collaborative community. Public-private partnerships make us a model community that others want to follow. It is what makes us unique. It is what makes us strong. The employees of Kent County reflect our diversity and seek to serve our communities.
People in this county, in this area, we wrap our arms around each other. We come together to collaborate, to solve problems. We're all working for the good of the whole. And I think that's wonderful. And you can see it. You can see it as you drive around Kent County.
Our impact starts the day a baby is born and a birth certificate is issued, to protecting children from deadly diseases through vaccination, to the public safety and justice provided by law enforcement and the courts, to offering veterans services and caring for the elderly. Every day we work to keep our communities robust.
I think if you are somebody who is interested in serving your community, in building a strong knowledge base and a good group of people to work with, then the county is one of your best employment opportunities out there. It's been completely rewarding in every way I could possibly explain for 26 years, and I feel like I grow every single day still today.
Leading these dedicated employees are 19-member Board of Commissioners and our County Administrator Controller, along with our elected officials and appointed department directors, placing emphasis on civic involvement, quality housing, vibrant neighborhoods, and strong, solid infrastructure to allow businesses to thrive. Professional, dedicated, collaborative, and innovative.
Behind the scenes, collaboration between foundations, charitable organizations, nonprofits, for-profit businesses, public sector demonstrated through the county, the city of Grand Rapids, the townships, all the cities and the villages in our area. If we don't come together, then we will not have the strength that we have today, and I only hope to build upon that.
Our aim is to make our communities the best they can be. We are involved in exciting development projects, sustainable recycling programs, and creative progressive prevention programming. We partner with elected officials, impacting policy ideas that become great achievements. We seek opportunities to reach out into the community and offer our services to help our residents make Kent County thrive.
Our relationship is solid, both from a staff standpoint at the county level as well as the Board of Commissioners. And they understand what we do and the benefits that we can do for the community, and vice versa. We couldn't do what we do without the help of Kent County.
While most of us are busy running our lives, Kent County's elected officials, administrator controller, and over 1,600 employees are serving the communities where we live our lives, so we can all have a place we are proud to call home. Kent County, its life well run.
It is Tuesday, December 5th at 8:30. We will open with public comment. Is there any public that would like to address the Finance and Physical Resources Committee this morning? Seeing none, we will close public comment, and I'll go to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any items that need to be pulled? Yes, Carol?
The bid awards.
Okay, so item C?
Yes.
All right, we will pull item C. Then we'll go ahead and, do we need a support for that?
Yes, and we'll move it and support to.
All right, is there a motion to pull item C? Is there a support?
Support.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, wait, don't we have to?
vote on the rest of the.
Yeah, and then we have to do the consent agenda. So, all those in favor of pulling out item C from the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Right, so let's go back to approving the consent agenda for items A and B. All those in favor of approving consent agenda items A and B, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Great. Now we'll go to item C, which has been pulled. So is there a motion to approve item C?
So moved.
And supported. How about questions, comments, and discussion? Why don't we have Cal come up, and we'll start with Commissioner Hennessy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I see here that at the Sheriff's Department, we're renewing the 3-year contract with Aramac for the food service, and I just wanted to see how this has gone in the past. Just generally an update, since this is the, 3 years before we hear from it again.
All right, well, thank you for asking. Technically, it's not a renewal. Aramark is our current provider, but we did go out through a request for proposal process and opened up the process. And so we started that this summer, and we did interviews. We had 4 companies that responded to our request for proposal, and we interviewed 2. After a rather thorough evaluation, we have decided and are recommending to you that we go again with Aramark. The contract recommendation is for 3 years, and after 3 years, then there's 2 one-year options to renew. So we did go through and vet through an RFP process as opposed to just extending the existing contract.
Okay, so you have been happy with the way Aramark has performed in the past, has provided services to us in the jail in the past?
Overall, yes. The sheriff's office does a very good job administering that contract, so it's watched quite closely. We will meet quarterly and review the contract, so we monitor the contract and have staff who has signed it. And so overall, yes, there's always possible improvements, but it's a well-watched contract, well-monitored.
Thank you, I appreciate the report, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Got one more, Rand.
Yes, Commissioner Voorhees?
Thank you, Chair Jones. On the vehicles, is that normal? How often do we buy, like 18 of them at a time? Is this a pattern every?
Yeah, it varies from year to year. The vehicles that are on the agenda today are the patrol vehicles, and those are bought annually. We like to get started rather quickly in the process for delivery because they are rather tight deliveries on these type of vehicles. And so we do it annually. It fluctuates. It may be 15 one year, 18 and 13. So it kind of fluctuates year to year based on need and what's coming out of service. The remainder of the county vehicles are out for bid right now. So all the rest are out for bid, and you will see them probably in early January as an award recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, Commissioner Coleman?
How long do we keep the patrol vehicles in the fleet?
The patrol vehicles vary, but these vehicles, the vehicles that are out on the road, on the Tahoes, can range anywhere from 105 to 130,000 miles. We monitor them in fleet, and based on the condition of them, the warranty, if they're having a lot of problems, we may remove them earlier. Otherwise, the sheriff office and fleet really does a good job. They balance them. And so as they get up in mileage, because they are high mileage vehicles, we may move them to a different function that has low mileage to push them up and utilize them the best that we can.
Thank you.
Over the life cycle.
Yes, Commissioner Talon?
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me, back to the Aramark agreement. Is that, were they the low bidder, may I ask?
They were proposals as opposed to bids, so they were not the lowest proposal. They were a very competitive proposal. In this type of contract, it's really important for employee retention of the food service provider in a very competitive environment here in West Michigan. And so what we're looking at is that they have adequate staffing, that they are going to retain their employees, as opposed to maybe some others who came in with a very low per meal price. But when we look at their staffing levels and start dealing into it, they have disclaimers that say we reserve the right to renegotiate the contract later and things like that. So what we're looking for is one that can provide adequate service and retain their employees, which is incredibly important for this type of contract.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That'll bring us to item 3 from Fiscal Services, the 2017 Lodging Excise Tax Budget Amendment. Wayman?
Yes, this is a request to appropriate an additional $238,750 to the 2017 Lodging Excise Tax Fund budget. The county levies a lodging tax in the amount of 5% on hotel motel facilities in Kent County as provided by Public Act 263 of 1974. Per agreement, the county will distribute 17% of the 2017 lodging excise tax revenue to Experience Grand Rapids. If lodging excise tax revenue is greater than $9,250,000, the county will distribute 17.25% to the Experience Grand Rapids organization. For 2017, the county budget estimated lodging excise tax receipts of $9.2 million and appropriated $1.55 million for distribution to Experience Grand Rapids. It is estimated that the 2017 lodging excise tax receipts will generate between $10 million and $10.5 million, with 17.25% or up to $1.8 million to be distributed to Experience Grand Rapids. Because of the unanticipated lodging tax revenue, an additional appropriation of $238,750 is required for distribution to Experience Grand Rapids.
Okay, is there a motion to approve? So moved. Thank you. Support?
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Yes, Commissioner Hennessy?
This is with Experience Grand Rapids, but as I understand it, they also provide funding to the West Michigan Sports Commission.
Correct.
So it'll go between the two.
Correct.
And there was a point last year in our CIP process where we saw an extra request from the West Michigan Sports Commission.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way in which, we could sort of urge or recommend or persuade, whatever the word might be, that this be applied to that extra need at the Sports Commission?
Two board members are here. They probably could speak better to that. I'm not on the board anymore, but.
Yeah, no, there is an agreement, a percentage of what Experience Grand Rapids gets goes to the Sports Commission, but that commitment for a project out at the Art Van Complex was a separate commitment, be a part of the agreement that Experience Grand Rapids has.
I would suspect that Mike Gusweiler, the director of the Sports Commission, would eye this and probably has already spoken with Doug Small about the possibility of supporting additional support. Now, whether that happens or not, it's up to the board of the Experience Grand Rapids to figure that out.
So out of curiosity, when does our contract with Experience Grand Rapids, the current contract for these amounts and percentages come up?
I'm not, maybe Marvin has that. I'm not sure, Carol. I think it may be another year yet before that ends. We can confirm that and get back. Maybe Marvin has some.
Marvin?
Good morning. I think it's the end of 2020.
2020.
End of 2020?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's got an escalator and it goes up to 18% in 2020. So it's got a 0.25% escalator each year between now and then.
Oh, okay, so there is an escalator
Yes.
in the current contract. Thanks.
Yes, Commissioner Talon?
Thank you, Chair. And my assumption is this is an end-of-the-year correction, but it's based on best estimates, and if those estimates would be wrong, we could have another budget amendment next year.
Correct.
Possible, but
These estimates are made a year and a half in advance of us knowing the final numbers, and they've been performing quite well. We may have estimated 5%. It looks like this is going to come in at 7.2%. If it continues at that rate in 18, we've got 10.5 million budgeted, but for revenues, if it was to come in at 7.2% again, we'd be looking at about $10.9 million. So we'll probably be back here again next year at this rate.
what's the variance that is the determiner for having to do a budget amendment? That's what we're doing here, right? Is we're amending the
Right.
budget?
Like I said, because we estimated it initially at probably about 5% increase over a lower base, and it actually came in at 7.2% over a higher base. We've got to come back here and get additional funds appropriated so that we can make the payments to Experience Grand Rapids. We estimate for 17 it's going to come in about 10.9 $10.2 million, but we left a little room in here in the event that comes in a little higher than what we anticipate.
I guess what I was asking is there a trigger at which point we need to adjust the budget again? Is it if it goes up by $1 over what we budgeted that we have to do an amendment, or
Well, yes.
5% over, or?
If it's over $1 in total, yes, we'd have to get that appropriated.
All right, thanks.
Okay. I'm going to just I'm on the West Michigan Sports Commission Board and on the Experience Grand Rapids Board. So Carol, going back to your point, the understanding on that additional project ties to the ballpark, as Commissioner Voorhees explained, but it also tied to the actual purchase of the property of that ballpark. And they had wanted the county at the time to contribute more money, and the understanding that was shared was when the property sells, which property is it, the one?
Monroe.
When the Monroe property sells, then it would be understandable for the West Michigan Sports Commission to be reimbursed for what they fronted to buy that property. So that was the discussions that were had. Now, whether that happens or not will be determined through our process, but that's what the actual project is. That's what is being discussed and why.
Okay, so we're sort of looking ahead to what may be coming, so I will hold off a little bit, look
Yeah.
into this. Thank
So,
you. I'm
but-
anticipating.
Right, and that's fine, and that this is a phenomenal problem to have. I'm really excited that our hotels continue to be booked on a regular basis, and that is largely due to the West Michigan Sports Commission and Experience Grand Rapids and their efforts to continue to get us phenomenal conventions, which is why our parking lot was so very busy this morning. Took a while to get in. And
Tell me about it.
That is just a great piece. Hey, Commissioner Morgan, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, sorry I'm late, stuck in the convention center over there. That has nothing to do with what's in front of us, right? Okay.
No.
Just-
discussion.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not pertinent to any of the business here.
Okay, any other, yes, Commissioner Antwerp?
It's not.
How do we arrive at the $9,250,000 threshold? Where does that number come from as far as?
Take that up separately.
It says if lodging excise tax revenue is greater than.
That was the amount agreed upon in the contract. That was the base amount. If they exceeded that, then they would get that .25 kicker. Anything over and above, for the total amount, if they achieve the $9.25 million in revenue.
So the next contract will have a different number?
Could potentially, based on the experience of trending of the receipts over there, that's really what it's based on. And the Experience Grand Rapids will provide us that history, and then we'll talk with us about what they believe the number ought to be based on the experience.
Thank you.
We approved this contract as a board.
Yeah.
But I know we have some new people, so maybe we want to get this contract back out to the
Well,
members
that's-
of the Finance Committee to see.
There's a timetable for it. Doug and I will probably be talking in the next year about it, I'm sure.
Right, but I mean the current one,
Yeah,
that
current.
runs to 2020.
Correct.
I would like to have everyone on the Finance Committee get a copy of that.
Okay.
Okay?
We can provide that.
So, just in case anyone hasn't seen it or anyone needs a
Sure.
refresher, I think that would be helpful before we go into the board meeting to make sure the Finance Committee has that. Yes, Commissioner Womack?
Yes. When we talk about the taxing amount of 5% on hotel motel facilities in Kent County, a lot of time we talk about Experience GR, and I hear presentations, there's a lot of emphasis on our downtown hotels, which I'm very happy because I was elected in Grand Rapids. But when it comes to, and since you're on the board, when it comes to hotels like the Crown Plaza in Cascade, one of our closest hotels to the airport, hotels that may be in Granville or Wyoming, are are they doing any work that's helping make sure that for their taxation, they're getting representation and concern about occupancies for those hotels also?
Well, there's certainly commissioners that represent all those areas, so the commissioners that would have hotels in their district should be certainly aware of that. Commissioner Morgan?
That was Commissioner Womack, that was the whole idea behind the Sports Commission, to try and boost the occupancy of the outlying hotels. So it wasn't so much downtown focused, but it took in all of the area to try and fill those beds. So one of the major priorities of the Sports Commission was to kind of spread it out. So.
There's also representation on the Experience Grand Rapids board with outlying hotel members. So it's not just a downtown, but there are several board members from the outlying areas, from the other hotels that are represented.
Okay. Thank you for now.
Yes, Commissioner Talon?
Well, I'll just pile on to that. I've been watching and asking those questions for a long time as well, and my experience is that Experience Grand Rapids does pay a very good attention to those outlying hotels, the non-downtown ones, but it is a constant kind of dynamic. It's a constant struggle that they need to maintain an awareness, because there's a tendency to focus on downtown. But there is representation from those hotels on the board, as you know. So.
Okay, anything else? It's good to know. Yeah. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We'll go to item number 5 from our Sheriff's Office for the Correctional Facility Female Housing Unit Capital Improvement Project and appropriate funding.
Is that?
Yes, this is a request to authorize the board to authorize a correctional facility female housing unit project in the capital improvement plan and appropriate $106,000 to the 2018 CIP fund budget from the Correction Intention Millage Fund. The current configuration of the individual housing units in the correctional facility female division does not permit the correctional facility to efficiently maintain the levels of separation required by its policy and best practices. Classification standards require the physical separation of inmates with varying degrees of violence, such as minimum, medium, and maximum custody inmates. In addition, best practices also require the sheriff to separately house inmates with severe mental illness, those requiring protective custody, and those requiring restricted housing for disciplinary and administrative reasons. While it is possible to house separate groups of female inmates within the same individual housing unit, mixing groups of inmates who should be separated not only reduces their access to the day room, but complicates providing the required services such as meals, laundry, medication, religious program, commissary, visitation, recreation, etc. Adding one wall down the center of this large housing unit will help to maintain required separations while delivering all needed services in the most cost-efficient manner. The female population has continued to grow and remains at a level higher than the department anticipated several months ago when the 2018 CIP process was underway. While it is possible for the department to wait until 2019 to the 2019 CIP process, the department would have to continue to manage the female population during the 18-month cycle.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Mance.
I just ask either the budget person or wait a minute, does this 106 get added to the fiscal 17 capital budget or the 18 capital budget?
Gets added to the 17.
Okay. And we probably have some surplus that we could use rather than the detention millage, do you think, Marvin?
But again, this would be included in the 2018 budget.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So it's add to that.
Yep.
Well, it does say in 2018.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I misspoke.
Commissioner Talon?
So I don't have any particular issue with the project. I respect and rely on the judgment of the Sheriff's Department on that. I do wonder, though, and I've raised this question before, about the process for how we decide what gets added to a CIP that didn't go through the normal process. So I guess I'd like to ask how this happens, who makes this decision to recommend that, and what the basis is for it, and so that other departments know, here's the circumstances under which we can also ask for something. That's not part of the process. Then I have a second question, I guess, for some clarification too.
The process that we use, we have representation from the Sheriff's Department on the CIP committee, and so they're heavily represented in that process throughout. We get through the process, the recommendations come forth. Based on the information that we have, those recommendations come to the board. You know, back in June, we go through the process. In this case, as time moves forward, the realization that this is a more urgent need than what it was at the time we went through the process. So the department comes forth and they will make a recommendation back to administration, to fiscal services, to my office. And then based on the information that's provided, as they provided it today, then it may come forth as a recommendation, as long as the funding is available to make this happen. In this case, we're able to move monies from the Correction Detention Fund to support the improvement. So as long as, so that's the process that we have.
So did I hear that it doesn't go through the CIP committee, it goes directly to you, and then you make the decision about whether it comes to the board to be added to the CIP?
It comes through Fiscal Services.
Through Fiscal Services.
Who also plays a big part in that process.
But does not go through the CIP committee?
It doesn't go back to the CIP committee, but CIP members are on the committee. The Sheriff's Department's represented on that committee. The Fiscal Services Department's represented on that committee. Facilities Management's represented on that committee. So several of the key players on that committee get an opportunity to weigh in on this recommendation.
And if I could just...
The other members on the committee are people from the Parks Department. They're on that committee. IT, they're on that committee.
And this
Those
specific
only are the
project,
two groups that are not represented in this particular discussion.
this specific project's coming out of the Correction and Detention Millage Fund. So it's not like it would fund anything from parks or any other project, right? It would be specific for the sheriff.
So if other departments can find revenue, they can probably go through the same process as well. That's the assumption.
And throughout the year, if it's not a CIP funding recommendation, it could be a grant that comes in from, let's say, the Department of HUD or DHHS or some other place. We've recommended those requests mid-year to this board based on our research and our due diligence and the backup. And then we will make those recommendations to the Finance Committee as we've done today, very similar to the CIP process. So this is not usual, this is not a regular thing, but sometimes it will happen. It has happened in the past for other projects beyond the Sheriff's Department.
Commissioner Morgan?
I just want to follow up on Commissioner Challen's comment. So I get an understanding of this. This was not part of our original CIP process, and it wasn't prioritized because it wasn't in that process.
Correct.
So, and the money is coming from the detention and corrections millage to the CIP. So
Correct.
it's almost
Correct.
the other way around. I mean, it's kind of money being flowed to
Correct.
the CIP
Correct.
from
Correct.
another source.
Correct. Correct.
But it wasn't part of the prioritization that we go through
Correct.
during our CIP
Correct.
process.
Correct. This did not get lifted up into that discussion during the course of the year when we reviewed all the projects.
So when they come with some money, they go to you and then you decide whether it's going to come in front of us? Is that
Correct.
how that works?
That's correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Hensy?
I'm curious about the dynamic that's making this a request necessary right now, given the sentence, the female population has continued to grow and remains at a level higher than the department anticipated several months ago. I'm real curious about that whole dynamic there.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Chuck DeWitt. I'm the Chief Deputy over Corrections. Much like what has been discussed, the inmate population is cyclical. And so when we started the CIP process for 2018, it was at a level that was lower, which allows our classification staff to move the inmate population as needed in order to meet the demands of not only inmate safety and security, but the staff's safety and security. The dynamic that changed is it's kind of like out in society where we're seeing a more disrespectful population towards law enforcement. Well, that same population now is within the facility, and trying to manage the behaviors is that much more difficult. So by splitting our big day room in half, that creates another housing area that we can then start to segregate the different personalities, so we're not impacting those that aren't necessarily involved, but will become involved if you have to start shortening the day room times. If there's several groups that are involved, we go from maybe 1 day room where everyone comes out to perhaps 2 day rooms. We've had to go as far as 4 day room times. So we'd like to have the inmates out to be able to use the telephones, watch the television, play games, socialize, but when those day room cuts are timed because of the different behavioral problems, that impacts everyone. Splitting that room creates a different area that we can start segregating our keep separates, if you will.
So can you just tell me a little bit more about what's happening with the female population? What are we at? What kind of, what's going on here? Why has this occurred now?
Great
You
question.
say it's cyclical, but still, why do we have this increase now?
It's all behavioral. So right in that April time period, our population starts to increase. And as our numbers increase, the number of beds, the number of rooms that are available in the different pods become smaller. In the women's division, we have 5 housing areas up in B3, which is where this housing unit is located. 1 housing unit is strictly for our ARU, our discipline, our PCU, it's a special population. The remainder of the inmates then are between 4 housing units. We have a maximum custody, which this pod that we're looking at is a minimum medium. We would not want to put a minimum medium inmate in with our maximum custody inmates. So it's either we have to keep them in their cell by themselves, or we discipline them, of which we have a limited number of discipline cells that we typically reserve for more egregious behaviors. Or if there's multiple inmates involved, then not only do we have to keep them in their cell, we have to keep the other populations in their cell as well. So it's a behavioral problem. Great question as far as what's causing the inmates to become more disruptive, but that's what we are experiencing.
Yes, Commissioner Womack?
Yes, when it comes to the separating for minimum, medium, maximum custody inmates, those with mental illness, those for disciplinary reason, those for protective custody, when we talk about this wall in the day room, is that gonna solve the majority of those problems, or are you projecting there's more things we need to do for those women to have the same equal protection, since we aren't talking about the males portion of the correctional system? Are we making sure that they have equal housing protection that might have already in the past been put up for males?
Sure. So I think this is a step in the right direction. Within the facility, again, all the housing units, for the most part, are dedicated to the male population because we have more males than females. By adding this additional housing unit, there are options that we're going to have as far as creating, perhaps instead of a punishment system, more of a reward system. So for example, something as simple as being able to put a microwave in that housing unit
to be able to have inmates work towards, then be able to utilize, would be something that we would want to perhaps take advantage of, where if we're having all these personality conflicts and behavior management problems, the last thing that we want to do is perhaps put something in there that they can in turn use as a weapon. And so, much like what you're describing, another housing unit creates options that allow for not only segregating, but also perhaps rewarding.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Talon?
Thank you, Chair. Curious about the numbers. We've heard discussion about there's been an increase. Are you able to define that further? Like, was the population 9 people higher or 25? Can you kind of tell us what it was and what it is now that is creating this?
Yeah, so what I can speak to is this. In 2015, our percentage of females was 26%. If you want to go back in time, if you will, I think it's going back to 2004-ish, the percentage was actually 21%. And so in 2016, the percentage actually decreased slightly to 25.5%, but our overall population increased by about 30. So the population was pretty stable, give and take, but throughout the facility, our overall population increased by about 30. Last year, we were at 1,071. So it's a number of different things. Statistics, you can play as much as you want. But several times over the summer, we had over 1,200 inmates in the jail at one time, which are numbers that we haven't seen in quite some time. Our average daily population of 1,071, we've only seen twice in the main jail in about that 15-year or so year time period. So our numbers continue to increase. Our average sentence actually increased a bit, which kind of speaks to, even though our bookings were down, our average daily population increased, and for whatever reason, our average daily sentence for the females actually increased a little bit more than our males. So again, a number of things that are is, I just can't explain why.
Right, but I guess what I'm asking is, again, going to the whereas, and I don't know that you wrote this, it could be someone else did, but it says the female population grew and remains at a level higher than the department anticipated several months ago.
Sure.
I'm wondering what the number is there. Is it because it turned out it's 10 more than it was when we missed this opportunity in the CIP process, or is it up 25? I'm just trying to understand how big that issue is.
Sure. So, and again, it's cyclical. And so when the need was identified, the inmate population was increasing at that time, and I can't tell you what that number was. But overall is what I'm speaking to, and that's those numbers that I generalized for you.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Commissioner Womack?
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to state for the board that my first year being here, I've seen increases of funding when it comes to hiring more deputies or walls, things to help house these inmates. But, and this isn't directed to you, just overall to the entire board on just the things we have to try to do to start bringing more things to the table that we can psychologically make a connection with these people while we have our fellow citizens that are spending time in Kent County. And I did visit the jail, and there's a number of programs that are going on that are great, but I think we need some more things that we can psychologically try to turn people around to living a legal life here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and not returning with the recidivism. And like I said, I did see some great programs in there, but it looks like there's more of a need for the females. And a lot of times when I'm talking to activists and leaders in our community, they're more geared towards the young men. So it's great to be here learning today some of the needs for the females, so I can also broadcast that out in my community, that we need to work on the recidivism rate on our females also. So thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That'll bring us to item 5, which is miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner miscellaneous this morning? Yes, Commissioner Voorhees.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. In regard to the Sports Commission, I gave my resignation from the board and will want to stay on the advisory council at the West Michigan Sports Commission, but so thankful, Chair Jones, that you're on the Sports Commission as well. I want to direct a little more of my energy to an organization called Grand City Sports, inter-city project to be a blessing in the community and to use sports as part of that building a better community. And so that's my position with the Sports Commission. So supportive of, very much supportive of what has been accomplished of its goals. I served 10 years and was thankful for the recognition that the board gave me in leaving, but I want to concentrate a little more with my serving on the task force. Really brought to me a light where I want to be of a better influence if I can. And so the young fellows that run Grand City Sports, they call me Uncle Harold because their dad and I served on the board together some years ago, and I still have a great relationship with their dad. He moved to Atlanta, but same family I just have respect for. So just that's my position with the Sports Commission advisory.
Thanks, Commissioner Voorhees. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned. The next meeting date is Tuesday, December 19th.